lot of people at jeopardy of losing their businesses.
Croteau says no word on whether the judge will decide before December 26th when the new rule takes effect. Money News, Jim Ryan.
Stocks were lower going into the midday. The Dow down by 27 points, the S&P giving up about 0.5%. The Nasdaq Composite was down 1% as Dell and Nvidia slipped. Investors headed into the holiday are trying to figure out what the Fed will do with interest rates next month. They're also focused on the potential effect of President-elect Trump's promised tariffs on goods from China, Mexico, and Canada. One chief executive officer says she knows exactly what will happen there. Corey Berry, the head of Best Buy, says the plans for tariffs on imports will mean higher prices for electronics. In her words, the vast majority of the cost will be passed along to consumers as price increases. The turkey hasn't even gone into the oven, and retailers are already looking past Thanksgiving to Black Friday. Adobe Analytics expects $40.6 billion to be spent on holiday shopping between Thanksgiving and Cyber Monday.
Right now, the Dow is down 104 points, S&P down 27, NASDAQ off 179. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Let me tell you guys something. We are here to deliver the best of the best this holiday season. I would never let you go to your cousin's house, your aunt's house, your grandmother's house, your mother's house without knowing how to get there in the right way when it comes to travel and all that stuff. That's why you got to keep it right here. But also how to deal with that person. That person could be your crazy uncle, the racist uncle. You know who I'm talking about.
I can taste it.
That one. The one who wears the MAGA hat. And you didn't have to deal with him 4 years ago because you were fortunate enough to be in the middle of COVID in your world, because that way you could wear a mask and have no reason to go over there, even though you wanted to gloat. But you were terrible.
You're a racist.
Yes, that one. Or maybe your grandmother, your grandfather, They voted for Trump, the evil that is Donald Trump. We're going to get you through this. We've got a great thing from the Bee that we think will help you. But before all of that, it is travel time. And I heard this today, and I wanted to hear it again because I thought to myself, who in God's name does this if you're traveling out there? And I'm not talking about driving to grandma's house. No. I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about you're in the car, you're going to the airport. What do you pack when it comes to snacks that you're taking to your loved ones?
If you can spill it, spread it, spray it, pump it, or pour it, then it should go into a check bag. So, for example, cranberry sauce is spreadable, whether you're buying it in a can, whether it's in a jar, or whether it's homemade. Gravy, of course, is spillable, spreadable, and so that should go into a check bag. I'm going to bet you we will see a raw turkey or two. That's fine because they're solid. Casseroles like mac and cheese, stuffing, those traditional green beans with those little onion straws, stuff like that, we consider casseroles to be solids. So you can carry those through a checkpoint as well.
Okay, so we just want everybody to understand that. Normally, I just keep gravy in my pocket. But this year, I've decided I am not going to do that. I'm going to put it she's talking about people who, does anybody do that? Does anybody get on an airplane with a turkey? And I'm not talking about one of those emotional support ones like a peacock or something.
I was going to say I actually qualify for that, but the turkey's still alive.
Yeah, see, but this is this is my emotional sports turkey. We're going to get back to where we're going. We're going to cut its head off.
They won't let me get on the plane with the Cobra anymore, so now I got to take the emotional support turkey.
You don't want to get on the plane with the Cobra, man. Been on there.
They stopped letting me.
Yeah, smart. But she's talking about people taking their dishes, their snacks for grandma and grandpa's house on an airplane. You're flying somewhere. You shouldn't have to do that. Your goal is to get from point A to point B. That's why you're showing up, right? Mom wants you home. Dad wants you home. Grandma's visiting. That's what your point is. Your point is not to bring those things. And I'm just curious, have you ever done that? Have you ever snuck a turkey on? Have you ever brought that special dish that you, and by the way, ladies, I know if you're listening right now, you always say, oh, they love it when I make my special dish. Oh, Bill, they love it when I make my string bean casserole. Nobody ever eats it. It's gross.
But people tell you that they like it because they're trying to be nice.
Yeah.
But nobody's eating that garbage, so quit making it.
Yeah, there you go. So we got it going on. All right. One of the other things we do around here, and I'm new around here, but I want you guys to know I love and care for all of you. Some people are going to be coming home for the holidays. They're going to be arriving at the house. Now, this is 2.5 weeks after Donald Trump won. 2.5 weeks after Donald Trump secured victory. 2.5 weeks after all of this stuff went down. And now people in full chaos mode, freaking out, not knowing what to do. How do you interact again with racist uncle? How do you interact with mom and dad who don't really quite understand how you went to college, a normal kid, and have come home after spending just 5 months there, an expert in geopolitical stuff, as well as now non-binary. So we want to make sure we get you through all of these things to help out because maybe you're on one side or the other.
So, you're heading home for Thanksgiving, but your family supports Trump. Not good. You're probably wondering, how can I show them I'm a good, tolerant person, and they're all terrible, intolerant people? And how can I find common ground with these rednecks who are literally Hitler? Well, you're in luck. Because I, too, am a good person who likes to share my superiority with those around me.
Solid. So again, we're getting you through this, and you may be on the other end. You may be the one who wants to spike the ball. So know what's coming. Know that these people here are going to be delivering to you certain things in the way that they feel. They're going to argue for no reason. They're going to fight at every turn. They're upset because they believe that their world has come to an end. So take that in. And if you're on the other side and you're just listening to this, you just got off the airplane, right? You flew in, you got off the airplane. You're like, how am I going to deal with my family? How am I going to do with it? What am I going to, they're going to hate me. And I hate them because they're Nazis. This may help you out just a bit.
Today, we're going to show you how to talk about Trump with your racist uncle this Thanksgiving. First, try slowly and articulately explaining to him how he is a racist, a bigot, a Nazi, and just an overall garbage person. You can even use simple visual aids if you want to. Next, you can help educate your backward, bigoted family members by handing out copies of Robin DiAngelo's White Fragility. This thoughtful holiday gift will endear them to you and open up the door for more conversation later.
Oh, God, Robin DiAngelo. White Fragility. If you've never read White Fragility, it is worth a read and then throw away. The whole book is based on this woman going to a company picnic, essentially. And she is essentially put at the picnic with black people, and she doesn't know what to do, and she automatically goes, well, I'm racist. So if I'm racist, everybody must be racist. And that is $1 billion business right there. So we're understanding how to talk to that uncle. Now, for me, I am both an uncle, a big brother. I'm a father. And I'm fortunate that my family and my mother and them have raised the kids right, so I'm not really worried too much about that. But I always tell everybody this, even some of my liberal friends, remember, because they're kids who are liberal, it's Uncle Chad who is always the one you call when you're in trouble, the one you think is a bigot and a racist, right? It's always that uncle in the family that's like, I can't tell my mom this, but my uncle, the uncle you hate, yeah, that one, he will bail you. Yes, he will come and do that because he's not holding a grudge, okay? Let's continue. We want to make sure everybody gets all this.
Now, sometimes your family might disagree with you and attempt to use far-right tactics, such as facts and logic. Counter this with a powerful haka dance. Fourth, you can easily get through to these MAGA bigots, or maggots for short, by reenacting the entirety of Hamilton. Let it never be said that you threw away your shot. Here's a good one. When your arguments just aren't getting through to them, try screaming at the sky. Simple, but effective.
Absolutely. And if you don't know what a haka dance is, I'm going to give it to you, break it down really quick and easy for you. The Maoris in New Zealand, or the islanders that were there originally, they have a war dance. It's most famous now for their rugby team. They're called the All Blacks. And they do the dance. And 2 weeks ago, on the floor of their parliament, a lady who is of Maori descent, she tore up I think it was a bill about like an apology and protection of the Maori culture, and she did the haka dance there. So that's become quite popular amongst the youth of America and the rest of the world to culturally appropriate that for their own good deeds. Let's finish it off, shall we?
Tip number 6. When you're encountering opinions you disagree with, just run away to a secure location. You might call it a space that is safe. If someone follows you there, then go somewhere else, and so on and so on. And finally, and perhaps most effectively, just start a good food fight.
Which I'm a huge fan of. Much like cooking, though. I don't want to clean it up. Those are some of the things that you can do if you are worried about how to hang out with your family this year, knowing full well that there will be that uncle, that brother, maybe grandpa, right? He's in the house all day. He's listening to Fox News or Newsmax or One American News as loud as possible, screaming about immigrants. How you can deal with them. Hope all is well.
You completely buried the lead on this, though.
Which is?
We now live in a world, because Trump won the election, we live in a world where it's okay to carry gravy in your pants again. Who's going to survive that?
Can you believe that lady? If you guys didn't hear, there was a woman. Let's play it again. It's worth it. If you're going to go to the airport, this is what she says you can and can't bring. And my whole thought originally was, wait a minute, you're talking about getting on an airplane with what?
If you can spill it, spread it, spray it, pump it, or pour it, then it should go into a check bag. So, for example, cranberry sauce is spreadable, whether you're buying it in a can, whether it's in a jar, or whether it's homemade. Gravy, of course, is spillable, spreadable, and so that should go into a check bag. I'm going to bet you we will see a raw turkey or two. That's fine because they're solid. Casseroles like mac and cheese, stuffing, those traditional green beans with those little onion straws, stuff like that, we consider casseroles to be solids. So you can carry those through a checkpoint as well.
Yeah, you can do all that. So maybe that's what you do to bring your family some good tidings. I can't believe that that's true.
Do they post the formulas that they use to determine if something's a solid or not? Like if we're trying to sneak through grandma's pumpkin pie,
Oh,
Would
like,
that constitute a solid, or is that a spreadable, or what?
Oh, you know what? I have no idea. That is a weird. The whole thought is weird. Like, I've never, I get you drive somewhere, you're holding it on your lap or something like that, but the thought of flying in an airplane somewhere and having your casserole that you bring every year on your lap is bizarre. And like you said, the sprayable, the liquid, like liquids. There's a perfect example. Like, what can I bring on liquid-wise? Because if there's gravy, it's got to be more than, what are we allowed now at the airport? 5 ounces? 12, 18? I don't know.
Something small.
Yeah.
It's like I have, basically, they're going to let me on the plane with enough gravy in my pocket to have my little airplane meal.
Yeah. Yeah, or to blow it up in their mind, because you never know what's in your gravy.
Because certain gravies are explosive.
Very much so. Very much so. So much stuff to get to today. It's funny, you're, Ken, talking about air traffic controllers. If you know nothing about air traffic controllers, if you know nothing about how hard it is to be one, I'm going to actually break it down for you. How hard it is to be an air traffic controller. There's actual limits when it comes to your age and it is crazy. And yet we don't have any of them. We are so short. And becoming an air traffic controller is so tough. It is not an overnight thing. It is not something that takes weeks. It takes a very, very long time. We're going to talk about that, a bunch of other stuff to get to. Trump and his transition team, Kamala, and that video last night, which was, I don't even know how to describe it. It's an odd situation, that video. It's an uncomfortable situation. I was waiting for her to tell me she loved me and that she wants to start a business with me and that we could win again, champ. So, so much stuff to get to on this Wednesday. Everybody getting out of town. Be safe out there. Remember, we're going to have all your traffic and weather right here. My name is Chad Benson. I am in for Matt Murphy, who will be in. Is Matt after me today? Is that what we got going on?
That is correct.
Matt is after me today in for Brian Wilson. So this is going to be a fun day, kids. We're going to have a lot of fun. So buckle up and relax. It is Chad Benson in for Matt Murphy right here at Super Talk 99.7. Omaha steaks, baby. Steaks done right. 5 generations. Absolutely incredible. When you use my code Benson, you're going to save big. 50% off site-wide. I'm going to tell you how you get extra on top of that. They've got so many great deals starting as low as $89.99. This year, this Christmas, right? You can give Dad some, like, Dad, look what we got you. We got your tie. Dad doesn't want a tie. All right? Grandpa doesn't want a tie. Your husband, your wife, they don't want ties. You know what they want? Something that's going to fill them up, and Omaha Steaks delivers that 100% unconditional money-back guarantee. That is fillets. That is hot dogs, hamburgers, pork chops, which are the most amazing things. That is desserts as well. That is seafood. That is burgers, chicken breasts, and oh so much more. So what I want you to do, you go to omahasteaks.com. When you use my code Benson, 50% off site-wide. But when you use my code Benson, they're also going to give you $30 off at checkout and a $30 rewards card. That's what's incredible about it. So don't waste your time doing other things. Don't fight Black Friday. Don't fight all the chaos and craziness of Cyber Monday. omahasteaks.com delivered right to you the best way. omahasteaks.com, O-M-A-H-A steaks.com. Use code Benson to save an extra $30 at checkout. omahasteaks.com. Minimum order may apply.
Well, a group is asking a Chancery Court judge in Nashville to pause a hemp rule growers say will put them out of business and deny what growers say is medicine their customers need. We'll tell you about it at 12:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
I just have to remind you, don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. And you have the same ability to engage and inspire. So don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you.
She's still a heartbeat away from the presidency, and probably should go see another president's wife, Betty. Oh my God, yeah, that was horrible. She said something about Betty Ford. She was the first lady. And so, but if you didn't see the video, she's like, let me tell you guys something. I was in Vietnam.
I love you so much.
We should start a business.
We should just do stuff together and be together all the time.
We should. Do you ever think how cool I am? Do you think I could jump a motorcycle over a house?
No, but when I'm sober, not right now.
I gotta tell you guys something. You guys are my best friends. I like. We should open up a window. So, yeah, that's her. Who in God's name greenlit that last night? Like, she's just, who did?
Dude, there is an entire section of her campaign that you could slice out and turn into what the hell.
Yeah. Well,
and just put it on YouTube.
And then the news came out that, like, everybody's like, who worked for her campaign, it's like, oh, yeah, our internal polling said she had no chance. Like, if Trump would have dropped out the day of, she wasn't going to win. Like, that's how bad it was. And people are pissed because they were telling everybody, donors, right? It was like they were telling donors, oh, yeah, you got to give more money. We're there. They knew they weren't there. But you get this? I'm sorry. That's an embarrassment. It's not fair to her, too. I don't know if she's drunk. Maybe she's jet lagged. She's like, Hawaii is in Hawaii. We should make that a state. Do you guys know about Hawaii? Hey, Ken, I like your beard. We should be friends. Oh,
you're going to eat those French fries.
She was a mess. Let's do it one more time. Because she looks right into her eyes are all blurry. She's like, let me tell you guys something. Do you guys think I could ride a horse?
I just have to remind you, don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. And you have the same ability to engage and inspire. So don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you.
You know what my power is? Making $1.5 billion disappear.
Well, 1.5 disappear plus throw another 20 million on top because you didn't manage your money right.
I could disappear stuff all day. Is what I do. Why? She's a hot mess. Somebody put that out. Somebody thought this is a great idea. Like, at this point, they're like, we don't even care anymore.
I wonder what time it was released. Like, what time of day or night it was actually put out.
She was hammered out of her mind, so probably, 11 in the morning?
Yeah, I don't know. I was doing a little drinking in the day. I don't drink alone much, but when I do, it's with a rosé. I was in Hawaii. Again, we should make it out of state. It's pretty nice.
Oh.
It was there, and then I was like, I need a cocktail. This is Hawaii. Somebody bring me a cocktail.
Make a motorcycle jump a car. That was good.
She's a hot mess. Oh, my God. Hey, everybody, I might run for president again, so let's keep all our options open.
Save those signs. We'll use them again.
It's a good shit. Hey, don't tell Tim. I think he's awful. Oh, he's on the phone. Hi, Tim. I should have went with that Jewish fella out in Philadelphia. That guy seems to be pretty good.
Those phone calls, man. I'll never forget those staged phone calls.
Oh my God, that was so. It was just, and this is why you lost. You're completely tone deaf. It's just amazing. And those phone calls, those stage phone calls were great. Tim, do you want to do it? Yeah. This is going to be great. Tim's like reading his lines. Hold on a second. They're not turning the lines fast enough. Poor Tim. That's it. Nobody cares about Tim anymore. Tim's gone. Never to be heard from again.
Haven't heard from him since. Haven't even seen him.
It's like, what was Hillary's running mate, Kaine? Tim Kaine?
Yeah, Tim Kaine.
Yeah, he pretty much vanished after their campaign was over.
I mean, you think about it. Tim Kaine, gone. Remember Edwards, right? Gone. Like, he's like, cheated on his wife and did all that stuff. And it's okay. She has cancer. So, he was just awful. He was gone. They all disappear. If you don't win, you're done. You're done. So, unlucky to all right there. So, Chad Benson in for Matt Murphy, who'll be here for Brian coming up a little bit later. A lot of stuff to get to. We're going to talk about the shortage of what they call, controllers. And if you have no idea how hard it is to be a controller, I'm going to break it down for you, all right? I'm going to do that. That's what I do to who we are. It's who I am. We'll do that straight ahead. Chad Benson in for Matt Murphy right here at Super Talk 99.7.
12:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got the big Thanksgiving travel day underway, and here in Middle Tennessee, they have just cleared that crash. 65 southbound there in Goodlettsville, so smooth sailing there. So far, everything's arriving and departing on time at BNA, but not in some places of the country. There's renewed concern about a shortage of key personnel impacting air travel. Ike Ujaichi's at Newark Airport.
The FAA saying that a majority of the delays nationwide are in fact caused by weather and airline operations, but they do concede, however, saying that hiring air traffic controllers is their top priority, especially here at Newark Airport, where they say is an issue that's been going on for decades.
Now, if you're driving, AAA says you have about a half hour to avoid the worst time for traffic delays. You're probably going to run into the worst traffic between 1 and 5 o'clock. Trump transition update. President-elect Trump says he's going to nominate General Keith Kellogg to serve as assistant to the president and special envoy for Ukraine and Russia. And here in Tennessee, a group is asking a Chancery Court judge in Nashville to pause a hemp rule, which growers say will put them out of business, and deny what the growers say is medicine their customers need. Rodney Croteau, owner of Green Daisy in Franklin, telling News 2 it's the flower, which you can smoke, that provides a marijuana-like high.
Over a third of my business sales is from these products, THCA flower and a lot of the vape. So it's a significant impact that will obviously impact us tremendously from a financial standpoint. And more importantly, my folks, my customers that rely on this medicine for various, health issues.
No word on whether this judge will decide before December 26th when this new rule takes effect. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
A lot of people texting in, having fun with us as we have fun with Kamala Harris. The Betty Ford one got her. Oh, Betty. Probably more famous than her husband. Betty Ford was married to a president? Yep, you didn't know that? Absolutely. So
President Ford was married to an alcoholic? Yeah, you didn't know that?
Yes, she was. She's well put together. She wore her pearls. It was very nice. She was well put together. Good for her. The delays that you're going to find aren't just weather in the next couple days. So air traffic controlling it's quite a gig if you can get it. And it's a big if, by the way. It's a big if. I remember as a kid growing up, and you guys might remember, you're around about my age, and I can probably remember this. Remember when Reagan had to order all the air traffic controllers to go back to work?
Oh, and he fired them?
Now get back to work.
Yeah.
Without them, we don't go.
Nope.
So, and it's not one of those things where they hire you and you're like good to go. They're like, oh yeah, just come on in. This is good. You know, it's like there's no apprenticeship. There's none of this. This is a serious gig because I had a friend who was an air traffic controller for quite a while, and he used to say, you know, they tell you you're in charge of souls. There's people flying all over the place. You have any idea how many people are in the air at any given time? So many. And there is a way that you go about doing it, but we've got issues right now. So weather is always going to be an issue, and we're already short pilots. We're already short, staffing across the board. And when you miss one thing, it's the domino effect, right? So all of a sudden things start going sideways, and it's a nightmare. It's a nightmare when it comes to planes. But then you throw in air traffic control, and you've got a whole new kind of nightmare.
On what's expected to be the busiest day for planes in the air, the FAA issuing a ground delay at New Jersey's Newark Liberty Airport, slowing air traffic due to a shortage of air traffic controllers. The lack of staffing leading to growing delays at the height of the Thanksgiving travel period. United Airlines with a strong message to the FAA, blaming them for disrupting more than 343,000 travelers with delays, cancellations, and long wait times this month alone, demanding that they rebuild staffing levels so travelers can depend on safe, efficient air travel.
Which is what you want, safe and efficient. This is not new. This has been going around for quite a while, and it is not an easy gig. So let's break down. So you want to be in air traffic. So Bell comes to me and says, Chad, I'm done.
I want to fly planes.
I want to fly planes. Now, normally they don't let the people who've had a few pops in them get on the airplanes and fly them, but this time we're going to let them be part of the fun on the air traffic control. There was a big deal in the 80s, and I remember, you probably remember this. You guys remember when cocaine was it was quite a party drug in the 80s, but it was a big deal among air traffic controllers because they stayed up for hours and hours, and they had to be sharp. And so that was also a big deal back in the 80s. So here's what you need to do. None of us here, Jan Bell, myself, nobody here can qualify to be an air traffic controller because you cannot be over the age of 31 when you start. And that includes the application process. So when you start the application, you must be in the program before you turn 31 or you're out. You got to be a U.S. citizen. You either have to have 1 year of general work experience or 4 years of education leading to a bachelor's degree or a combination of both. You must speak English. And why that is important? Because it doesn't matter where you are in the world. English is the language of flight. So if you are my buddy flies for Eviair. He flies from Los Angeles to Hong Kong and into China. He's from Venezuela, but he's an American citizen, but he was born and raised in Venezuela. He's a dual national. And he flies to Hong Kong and to China, and they speak English in China. They do. They speak because you have to, right? So you have to. So if guys flying from Germany to, let's say, to Italy, they've got to speak English on the ground. So it is the universal language. But for here, obviously, it's a different thing. So now you're saying, all right, let's do this, right? Applicants must meet the basic qualifications that we talked about. The application process takes a while, so don't get too excited. It takes anywhere from 6 months to a year just to get through the application process, which includes drug testing, So they've got all kinds of personality tests. The Minnesota multiple personality inventory test you have to go through. Fingerprints, federal background check, and physical exam as well. And when they're serious about, by the way, you not losing it. So if you report that you're stressed, which happened last week, I think it was in is it Newark where that happened, right? Or Philadelphia?
Philadelphia.
You're pulled off the job, and then you have to go see essentially a medical professional because they can't have that. Here's something that's going to ruin everything. I'm holding up a phone for all of those of you watching on Super Talk TV and everything like that. You cannot bring your phone into the facility at all. No. Yeah.
No distractions.
No distractions because of all of the souls in the air. So after you go through all of those things, then you must be willing to move to the facility. Now, there's some colleges out there that will specialize in getting you through almost like a bachelor's degree of this, but doesn't mean you're an air traffic controller. You still have to go through the program. The best way to do it, they'll tell you, is you go into the military and you work usually with the Navy or something like that, and you go through their air traffic control, but you still have to go through their program once you're out. Now, once you're out, you have to go, okay, now I want to do this. And they finally, after 6 to 9 months, say, we accept you. You'll be paid $34,000 and you move to Oklahoma.
Been there, done that.
Yeah, you know what it's you know what it's about.
He is literally done that.
And yet here he is, not an air traffic controller. The chances of that happening. And I know you've literally been there. By the way, I was spent a couple of years when I was a child in Tulsa. It's a beautiful country, God's country. But, if you're from L.A. or New York, you're probably thinking, where the hell am I? What are these people about? So after you do all of these things, right, you've gone through all of this stuff, now the training begins. Now the training will last anywhere between 2 and 3 years, sometimes 4, before you ever get out and then on your way. It is full-time work, obviously, with sometimes additional hours. But it is 24/7, 365. Day, evening, night shifts, along with weekend and holidays. Here's the crazy thing. So the more seniority you have, the better hours you get. Your hours at the beginning of the year are your hours for the entire year unless they need you for more.
I saw Pushing 10 with Billy Bob Thornton and John Cusack.
It's a good movie.
None of this was going on.
No, none of this was going on.
So
no.
I'm not sure if you're making this up.
I would like to say but I'm not. I'm not making this up. So when you bid the hours and you get your hours, so if your hours are from 6 a.m. till 4 p.m., Monday through Friday, that is your hours always. Nothing's going to change next week unless they need you or you want to work overtime because something happened. Outside of that, nothing changed. You also have to bid on, it's weird the way they do things. But should things start to take off for you, average salary for a certified professional controller was $158,000 last year. Within 3 years, you'll make over $100,000, but you start at about $60,000 to $65,000. You're a federal employee. Benefit packages are delicious, okay? And don't worry about the Doge. The Doge isn't going to get rid of you because we don't want people flying around out there. Great retirement, great insurance package, and all of the things. So remember, when you're applying, these things take a long time, and they're going to look into everything. And that big thing is your mental health. That is important because you don't want someone spinning out of control when they're in the room. Okay? There's a reason, if you've ever seen the amazing movie Airplane, which was a delicious... I picked a horrible week to stop sniffing glue. Right? Remember that?
Well, there's no good week to stop. You just sort of have to do it.
So, and why is that? Because of the stress of the job.
Chump don't want help, chump don't get it.
He just died. Did you see that? Abrams just died yesterday.
I know.
So the guy who came up with Airplane. But that shows you the insanity and how stressful it is. It's a joke, but it's reality. These are things we like to teach you here as you learn with me and we grow together. Okay? So if you want to do that, it's there. If you're over the age of 31, there's nothing I can do. We can't fix this. You're not going to get it. Okay. Fantastic. A lot of you chiming in about, and we love when you text the program. What is the text line? I have no idea because nobody's provided me any of that stuff.
615-737-9986. Just use your texting app.
Somebody said, looks like I picked the wrong week to stop sniffing glue. Truth. Who was that? That was, what's his name? Bridges? Lloyd Bridges?
Lloyd
Yes,
Bridges.
Lloyd
yeah.
Bridges.
Lloyd Bridges. That's right.
He also picked the wrong week to stop doing methamphetamine.
Cocaine, drinking, all of the stuff. All of the stuff. It is MTSU as a program for air traffic controllers. That's awesome. They're retired. That's the other thing that I didn't get to. You must retire at 56. So if you come on at 30, you're getting 26 years, and then out you go. You don't have to go to college. Somebody said you have to go to college. You don't. But what they need is you have to have a few years of life experience, whether you're in the military or you've done at least 3 or 4 years equivalent work experience. What they're really looking for is not an idiot. Okay? Can you show up every day? Because you're going to look at a screen and you're going to see all kinds of things on there, and then you're going to have to figure out where to place them. And there's 3 kinds of controllers. There is I'm getting handed off to you from airport to airport. So the person flying, let's say you leave here, right, and you're heading to London. That person will have a person that will taxi you and help you take off. Then they'll hand it off to somebody else who will then take you to the next air traffic controller. And then you'll get one eventually over the ocean. There's those kind. There's another kind that will bring you in, land you, and taxi you, tell you where to go. So there's like 3 different kinds of controllers. But you don't need any of that stuff. As far as you don't have to go and get 4 master's degrees. What about 11 years as an electrician? You could do that. Yes, no white zone. The white zone is for loading and unloading of passengers only. There is no parking in the white zone. It was such a great movie. Oh, my Lord. We're having fun. It's Wednesday. Still nobody's popped in and said, Chad, when I flew once, because if you guys didn't hear earlier, a lady's telling everybody what you can and can't take on the flights. And one of the things that she says you can't take on is you can't bring on liquids if they are like your gravy. And I thought to myself, who in God's name is bringing gravy with them? Why can't you make that somewhere else? That's the thing.
If people got coordinated, they could actually have some really nice Thanksgiving meals on these flights.
Yeah. Yeah.
You bring the gravy, I'll bring the stuffing. Harry's going to bring the turkey, and then somebody just needs to bring the cranberries, and we'll have dinner at 35,000 feet.
It's better than that movie, The Live, right? We're getting on the ground. It's well, here we go, guys. Rather than eat each other, let's try this first. Ground, tower, and approach, departures, and center. All these things. So there you go. A lot of stuff you can do. We just wanted to give you a breakdown of why it's so chaotic. It's not just because of the weather. There's a lot of rules because at 35,000 feet, there is no pulling over for a problem. That's what we're trying to tell you guys. Okay? And and by the way, the departure thing, the worst plane crash in history, fatality-wise, never got off the ground. It was in Spain, and it was 2 planes, a KLM, and I'm trying to think it was a Pan Am or something like that. They both were taking off opposite directions in fog, and they hit each other, and I think some 600 people died. Never got off the ground. That's how important those things are. So there you guys go. No, I never fly without my cranberry sauce, says one person. Me either. My name is Chad Benson. I am in for Matt Murphy. I'll be in for Brian. A lot of stuff still to get to. It is Super Talk 99.7. Rough Greens, ruffgreens.com is amazing. Go to Rough Greens now and get yourself some yummy Rough Greens. Chat, what is Rough Greens, you say? No, it is not cranberry. It is for your dog and your cat. They got meow greens as well. So if you love your animals like I love my animals, you're going to want to deliver the best with. This is a supplement that goes on top of their food. They're going to send you a bag for free. It's a $20 value when you use my code CHAD when you go to roughgreens.com. It has vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-369. Don't change a thing when it comes to their food. All you have to do is just sprinkle this on top of your dog or cat's food and watch what happens. So I want you to try a Jumpstart trial bag now. Maybe your cat has issues with their skin and fur. Maybe your dog has issues with lethargy. Watch what happens. It's a $20 value. It's free. You cover the cost of shipping. Get it now. Go to roughgreens.com. Use code CHAD. That's roughgreens.com, code CHAD. Roughgreens.com, code CHAD.
Right now, looking at the travel situation north of Nashville, we've got some brake tapping going on. I think it's just volume. I don't see any crashes, but it's going to be north and southbound 65 in between Madison and White House. Got a further travel update if you're flying, and new Trump transition developments coming up at 1 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
A Trump spokesperson saying that last night and this morning, several of Trump's cabinet nominees and administration appointees were targeted, and that these attacks range from bomb threats to swatting. In response, law enforcement and other authorities acted quickly to ensure the safety of those who were targeted.
So apparently Trump's transition team was targeted last night with fake threats. Welcome to the modern world of insanity. People who are losing their mind, people who just want to have fun. I don't know what it is. I mean, you know, as horrible as this is, I mean, you hear all the time about people who get swatted, everybody from internet personalities to just people randomly swatting people for the heck of it. But this seems to be very targeted. And here's the thing. Is it a crazy loon here that's a leftist nut job with purple hair, wants to eat granola and thinks all meat is murder and, and all sex is rape? Or is it somebody who is in China, right? Somebody like that who's just decided they're going to mess with everybody. So I'm sure Ken's going to have the latest on that because it's crazy. And it's scary nowadays, too. And you've heard more and more of this. They're coming after people who swat people and do these kind of things, because it's serious. And you get people who break in who are looking for somebody real. And guess what? They're not coming in with hugs and kisses. They're coming in full bore, guns a-blazing. And the last thing you need is to know that somebody's getting shot because you thought it was going to be funny. Somebody just texted, it's the tolerant left. A little intolerant, I would say at times. Hey, nothing says tolerance like intolerance. That's what we're saying. My name's Chad Benson. I am in for Matt Murphy, who will be in for Brian. You listen to Super Talk 99.7.
One o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. Again, a lot of brake tapping on 65 north and southbound between Nashville and White House. No crashes that I can see. It may just be volume. And snow? Did I see snow is possible? Full forecast coming up in 5 minutes. Yeah, the big Thanksgiving travel day's underway, and drivers, you have missed the window for the least amount of traffic. AAA says between now and 5 o'clock is going to be the busiest time on the road. Meanwhile, I see only 2 flight delays at BNA, a Delta Airlines flight out of Detroit, and an American Airlines out of Charlotte. But in L.A., they're feeling the ripple effect of some issues in the Northeast. A traveler at LAX trying to stay cool as his family waited for their delayed flight to Cancun.
I was surprised. I was a little nervous, and I feel like we came a little too early. I'd rather sleep another hour, but what can you do? You got to make everyone happy. You don't want to be the one that's dragging everyone behind.
Trump transition. President-elect Trump says he will nominate General Keith Kellogg to serve as assistant to the president and special envoy for Ukraine and Russia. Trump says General Keith has led a distinguished military and business career, including serving in highly sensitive national security roles in his first administration. Trump says together they will secure peace through strength and make America and the world safe again. Meanwhile, threats and hoaxes targeting President-elect Trump's cabinet nominees, reported by a spokesperson today. Here's Alex Brachet.
A Trump spokesperson saying that last night and this morning, several of Trump's cabinet nominees and administration appointees were targeted, and that these attacks range from bomb threats to swatting. In response, law enforcement and other authorities acted quickly to ensure the safety of those who were targeted.
Here in Nashville, a group is asking a Chancery Court judge to pause a hemp rule, which growers say will put them out of business and hurt their customers. Rodney Croteau, owner of Green Daisy in Franklin, telling News 2.
This overreach really with the THCA flower is just a way of trying to ban a lot of these good products that these people need.
Lawmakers went back and forth on the issue last week, with House Majority Leader William Lamberth saying all the rules are necessary in order to ensure consumers are protected.
Flour, any other products, anything. We wanted products to be available out there that are hemp-derived, that, quite frankly, is not like what I see on the billboards now, real weed. Buy it now in Tennessee.
No word on whether the judge will rule before it takes effect on December 26th. That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
What is up, party people? Happy Wednesday, day before gobble day. I'm wearing my gobbler shirt. I have a beanie on as well. I don't know why I have a beanie on, because I walked here. That's how close I am.
Because it's cold.
It is. It's a little bit chilly, but said the guy with no head. Man, there's so much going on. You know, normally this time of year, nothing goes on, right? So we've got threats to the transition team. We have a situation where in the Middle East, some stuff is happening. Now, what's going to come of it, I couldn't tell you. They want they want some sort of deal done with Hezbollah, which I find very interesting.
Just hours before the ceasefire takes effect, buildings smoldering after massive Israeli airstrikes rained down in and around Beirut. Panic gripping residents trying to flee. Buildings flattened. One last major volley into Hezbollah strongholds before President Biden announcing a ceasefire between Israel and Hezbollah.
Now, what does that mean? Well, it means virtually nothing. Those things aren't worth the paper they're written on. And part of the problem is, and it's the thing that has gone on forever and a day, maybe a little bit different in Lebanon. If you guys know nothing about Lebanon and Iran, if you go look up 1960s Lebanon and Iran. So Tehran, right, and Beirut. You know what they were? They were like Cuba was before the downfall of everything. They were Las Vegas and Atlantic City. They were short skirts and freedom and all of these things. And then the hardliners came in and everything went sideways. So you have a lot of people in a place like Lebanon who want nothing to do, by the way, with Hezbollah. Hezbollah is half of the country. It's their de facto military. They want they're sick and tired of living in a house with 4 walls, no roof, and the potential to be blown up on a daily basis because of these guys. Your job, apparently, is to hate the Jews, and that's not their job. They want to live a normal life. And in a place like Yemen, you have the same thing with the Houthis, which is, by the way, we sit here, we talk all the time about, Gaza and all the stuff that goes on to the Palestinian people. I can feel. I had a buddy from Palestine. I understand. You can feel. They're it's hard not to as a human being. That being said, these are warring factions. And you've got, with Hezbollah, you have a little bit more of a military comparatively to what you see with the likes of Hamas. With Hamas, you have a group of people that is much more, quote unquote, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, freedom fighters, a.k.a. terrorists, than you do with Hezbollah. But none of this will work unless eventually the people stand up and say, we don't want to live like this, okay? We don't want to live like this anymore, where everybody who looks at us thinks we're going to blow them up, even though we have no want to do that. We don't want to live like this anymore, where we have no food, and once every 6 months we're run out of our house because you guys decided to shell an empty area to talk about how great Islam is, and while you're doing that, they actually fire stuff back that works. Nobody wants to live, and until that happens, you're going to get nothing. And they're going to try for something. I don't know what it's going to be. You know, they say, it's going to be 60 days. Oh, is it?
Under the agreement, Hezbollah and Israel will observe a 60-day truce. During that period, Hezbollah fighters will move north away from Israel's border, and Israeli troops will gradually withdraw from Lebanon. In the last few months, the exchange of fire has left more than 3,000 dead in Lebanon and at least 70 Israelis killed.
It's awful. So you have that going on, but this has nothing to do with what's going on in Palestine. What's going on in Palestine is a nightmare. And yesterday, and you guys can check out my, all my stuff. I've got Chad Benson Show TV's YouTube, and you're here, and you can, at Chad Benson Show on the Twitter and the whole 9 yards. Follow us. I love it when you do. But a lot of people go, because I have people on the left and right that listen, which I love, by the way, because I think if we don't have a conversation with each other, I think that's not a good place to be. And you're seeing what's going on with Blue Sky, where everybody's like, let's go to Blue Sky. It's going to be great. It's all fluffy and unicorns and whee. So everybody heading over there. But I had several people reach out to me and say, well, until America stops giving them these weapons. And I said, you need to slow your roll. First of all, let me tell you about America and what America does. America looks at Bibi and says, in front of the cameras, you really shouldn't do that. Behind the scenes, they're like, light them up. We don't care. But, in front of the cameras, you don't mind that I actually say you shouldn't do that. Secondly, it's because of us and the restraint of the Israelis that Palestine even exists. Because if they wanted to, they would go from the river to the sea in a heartbeat. And you couldn't stop them. You couldn't. So, but this has nothing to do with that. And the focus, realistically, needs to be on Iran. I think everybody understands that. The focus needs. My biggest fear with all of this stuff in the Middle East is Iran eventually pulls a North Korea. So you go back to the day, right? They all signed that paperwork because the saber rattles, and Kim Jong-un's dad, Kim Jong-il, I think it was, he was out there. He's like, oh, you know what? We're going to get a nuclear weapon. They're like, no, he's not. So we flooded them with money. We gave them everything they need. We trust and didn't verify. Then they got a nuclear weapon. So what you have is part of the axis of a-holes has a nuclear weapon. If Iran got a nuclear weapon, it changes the Middle East. Because then we have to look at Saudi Arabia and go, well, you guys should probably get one. Right? And, you guys over here, UAE, I don't know do you guys need one? Who's coming for you? Jordan, do you guys need one? Because you can't have one without it keeps everybody in a position of power and protection. That's what they're there for. I mean, all you have to do is look at Ukraine, right? Like, never give up your nuclear weapons. I always tell my kids, if you learn one thing and you're ever able to get a nuclear weapon, first of all, well done. Secondly, don't ever give it up. Don't ever give it up. Keep it. It's important. It will protect you. And that's kind of the thing here, is the fear is everything needs to be focused on Iran. Iran is all bark with no bite. Iran has everybody do their dirty work. And it's time that the world stepped up and said, do you want chaos and craziness? Because if you do, then keep doing what you're doing. If you don't, then it's time we all have an honest conversation about this. You want a two-state solution? Israel's offered it 3 times. You've turned it down every single time. Now, if you're going to get a two-state solution, it's going to be with the Saudis having to run some of this. Because God knows I don't want to be a part of it. Do you? No, I don't want any boots on the ground, which is a possibility, I pray not, that may happen here in Lebanon. Not a big thing, but potentially. And there'll be boots on the ground. But what I mean boots on the ground is a show of boots on the ground. Because we always know, we can be honest with ourselves. We pretend like there's no boots on the ground, but wink, wink, nudge, nudge. There's always those guys. You guys know what I'm talking about? You ever seen, so it's funny, I have a good friend of mine who has done work for organizations, for us, but they'll, you joke about they're flying on an airplane to a country with a bunch of military personnel, and the military personnel get off and go one direction, and then these 7 guys in khakis and a white shirt get in another car and head into another direction. Those are the guys that are always in some war-torn land, probably doing things that we don't need to know but help us sleep at night.
When I worked in record promotion and I was out of Atlanta, I went to visit one of my music directors at a radio station in Florida, and she was leaving from a remote to go to her reservist training. She was going for her weekend, and we got to talking, and she told me she was in Iraq during the second Gulf War. She was in Iraq for 3 months before we dropped the first bomb. And they were, she was living in the desert with her unit, and they were marking communication targets.
Yeah.
And they had been there for 3 months.
3 months. You never know. And my buddy, who is a former cop, was in the military for quite a while. He used to tell me nothing about what he did, but what he did tell me all the time was, just know that you guys sleep well at night. That's all you need to know. Just know my assumption is you're shocking somebody's grundle in like a third basement below some house trying to get information. And you know what? I don't need to know that. I don't want to know that. We all sleep better for it. And if you got a bad guy, God bless you for that.
You can't handle the truth.
Amen. He said that out loud. He did.
Had a buddy who was in the Navy who said, we had cat and mouse with Russia and China on a daily basis in submarines.
God, that's crazy. So scary. So scary, that stuff that's out there, and how freaky it is, and how close we are in situations. And also
this was in the 80s.
Yeah, yeah. My uncle, when he was in the Navy, he would tell me stories about stuff, that you shouldn't know. And he worked, oddly enough, I lived with him for a year in Vegas after my dad died and I came home. I was in Europe for a while and came home and I was training with him and I lived out there. He worked we used to drop him off at the McCarran Airport every day, and he'd get into an airplane that was all white with no windows, and they would fly off somewhere like 30 miles away. But it was a trip. But the stuff that, I know my buddy Mike Lyons was on today with Dan Mandis, and he used to tell me all the time, and he was part of NATO with the U.S., and he would say, look, the stuff that keeps everybody else up at night is the stuff they don't know we have. And he goes, you have no idea. Half this stuff that's being tested out in Ukraine, these are contractors who are testing stuff. They tested for a while, and they're like, all right, thanks a lot, guys. I'm going to go. So, yes, chaos and craziness over there, big money over there for our contractors. That being said, if we want to get serious, we've got to get actually serious about stopping what is going on. That includes, though, the fact that these nations have to stand up for themselves. You can't blame the Jews for everything, but they will. I remember Dennis Miller, when he was talking, Obama was president, and he made a joke, and I thought it was so spot on. It was about it was so awesome. It was about because they were spending money to help Muslim nations get interested in space, and he said, when they'll be interested in space? When the Jews go to the moon. I thought that's pretty much about as spot on as you get. So much stuff still to get to today. More on what is happening. Ken, do we have the latest on what's going on with these swatters? Do we know who it is?
Not yet.
So threatening things. Some immigration stuff we're going to talk about as well today. And Trump's transition team. What does America think about it? It's very interesting because, all you hear from the media is like, the world's coming to an end. We're all going to die in Paris and nobody's ever going to ever be able to vote again. Well, guess what? Maybe that's not true, and maybe not everybody thinks that way, including some people on the left, which, shouldn't be a shocker because so much of what you see on television, a lot of other places and read is so theatrical. My name's Chad Benson. I'm in for Matt Murphy. He will be here filling in for Brian Wilson a little bit later. This is the Wednesday edition of the Matt Murphy Show right here on Super Talk 99.7. Raycon, best earbuds around. You'll love your Raycon. Absolutely incredible. These are earbuds that are amazing. They're my everyday earbuds. I wear them every single day. Let me tell you why they're incredible. 8 hours of talk time, 32 hours of battery life, the best fit, the best sound quality, things you cannot believe. They're so amazing. Fast charging, which I love, and active noise cancellation. They're about a third of what everybody else would spend on premium audio. You will love every second of these things. If you want to avoid the chaos of Black Friday, the chaos of Cyber Monday and all that stuff, these are the things that deliver over and over and over again. 8 hours of talk time, 32 hours of battery life, 30-day happiness guarantee, and free shipping, and 25% off the entire website. So they've got all kinds of great things for your house, but these everyday earbuds deliver. Get yours now. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad today. That's buyraycon.com/Chad. The everyday earbuds from Raycons. Buyraycon.com/Chad.
Trump transition getting violent threats. We'll tell you about it at 1:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dr. Bhattacharya is someone who is kind of in the same camp as RFK Jr. here. I mean, he's posted like similar anti-vaccine messages. We also know that he was very critical of Dr. Fauci and the COVID policies.
There's nothing wrong with that. By the way, let's go back to what an anti-vaxxer is. Somebody who doesn't believe in vaccines. RFK Jr. is not that. His family's vaccinated. Dr. Bhattacharya is not that. Skeptical in the way that things were done. Asking for accountability is not being skeptical in the way that they want to make it seem. They make it seem like nobody should get it. Absolutely. By the way, I got the vaccine. Right? So I got the vaccine, and people's like, why did you get the vaccine? Well, one of the reasons I got the vaccine is because I'm not a skeptic. I did my homework. Look, if I gave everybody in the country aspirin, there are going to be people that have a serious issue. I was working when this was all taking place. I was working in Phoenix, so I had my national show, which I still do. But then my partner on air, God bless him, love him to death, a bit of a hypochondriac. I'm not going to say, and by hypochondriac, like, dude, let me tell you something, man. He actually scrubbed a banana on the outside. It was the greatest. Like, he's one of those guys where, like, my elbow hurts, probably have cancer.
I've got some family like that.
It was like that. So he was like, he couldn't wear enough masks. And you know, the funny thing was, he would tell everybody what to do. He would walk around making sure that everybody had their vaccines, and he would write them down. What kind did you get? Moderna? Oh, top shelf. Moderna was top shelf. What did you get? Oh, you didn't get it. So it was hilarious. And I love the guy to death. And his mother passed away. She got COVID. She was in the hospital for a long time, and God bless her, she passed away, partially because she got it at the beginning. They didn't know what to do with her. They actually stuck her down where it used to be the crazy place. And they left her there for a day and a half and forgot all about her, which was a horrible situation. But I got it because I wasn't worried. But I had questions, and I advised, look, if you're young, nobody was dying from this when they were younger. I mean, kids die from the flu. It's horrible. Sometimes things happen, as we all know. You guys listening out there, sometimes things happen. But saying that, hey, I'd like some accountability, I'd like some testing, that is not it. And that's the way they're going to paint this guy. And it's not who he is. But alas, this is what you're going to get. You're going to get this over and over again, because what you have is the media that is freaking out because they don't like what's coming. They don't. They don't like the fact that there's going to be accountability in certain situations. They don't like that there's going to be actual, real looking at numbers and the questioning that some people are having over, well, what if this agency doesn't do its job? Well, then why do we have that agency? And Bhattacharya is going to be at the NIH, but, RFK is going to oversee everything. But Bhattacharya is going to be at the NIH. And let me tell you something. He is not going to say, well, nobody should get vaccine. Of course we should get vaccine. Of course. The things that we have that are available to us are freaking amazing. Nobody else on the planet has some of these kind of things. Do you think people in Africa be like, well, I wouldn't take that? Hell yeah, they take that vaccine, for God's sakes. A net saves their life. It's just, can we have some accountability that not everybody should take stuff and doesn't need 12 doses of something before they're 3. It's not that hard. It's common sense. But you've also got this bizarre partnership with, and a lot of these things, by the way, perfect example is the FAA and Boeing and all these. Boeing, can you find a company that's had a worse year than Boeing? Probably not a major company like that. Well, Boeing was allowed to basically go out and inspect themselves. And you've got too many of these cozy relationships between these agencies and the powers that be and these big corporations. And they go back and forth between each other. Hey, do you want to be on this agency? You're there for a while. Then you know what? They hired me away to go work for Pfizer, or they hired me away to go work for Boeing. And then it's just about accountability. But they're going to treat everything that skepticism as, oh, that person doesn't believe in that. That person doesn't believe in science. This guy, and Fauci, damn Skippy, you should be pissed at Fauci. You should be. I told you guys a story, maybe you guys heard last week. My cousin died of AIDS in the 80s. I remember he went to my dad's funeral. My dad was very close to him. Even in the 80s, my dad was very inclusive. Punk rocker, no teeth, biker, bad dude. But my cousin came, and my cousin was probably 6'2", maybe 100 pounds. He knew he was dying because he was going to 2 or 3 funerals a week. During that time, Fauci was promising the world that he was going to come up with the big savior when it came to AIDS. And he didn't.
I do science.
He didn't do science. And a lot of people in the gay community aren't fans of Fauci long before this ever came around. And so there's a lot of skepticism. You're allowed to be that way. And the fact that many people out there, if you have a question, it used to be, by the way, it used to be the liberals in particular, right? Like they were always going against the man, right? The man would say something. You're like, I'm not going against the man. I don't believe what the man has to say. Now it's flipped. It's completely flipped now. The only people seem to be asked questions are people on the right. They're asking good questions, and it doesn't make them a skeptic, which is, it blows my mind. You can't bring anything up anymore without somebody go, oh, it's because you don't believe in science. You're a skeptic. What do you mean you don't believe in climate change? What do you mean you don't believe in this? Oh, jeez. Oh, my Lord. Follow me at Chad Benson Show. I am in for Matt Murphy. So much stuff still to get to. We got burgers, I see. We get some burgers in there, my man?
Yes, sir. Thank you very much.
We got some burgers. We're going to eat some burgers. It's we're having a little good time in here. All right. So and Headless Bell and I are going to have some burgers. We'll break some bread while you guys relax and listen to us. I am Chad Benson in for the lovely Matt Murphy. Will be in for Brian Wilson. This is Super Talk 99.7.
$1:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. And we've got the full forecast in 5 minutes. Thanksgiving travel underway. We've got a handful of arrivals delayed at BNA. Drivers, if you haven't left yet, AAA says the next best time to avoid congestion is going to be after 5 o'clock this afternoon. Several members of President-elect Trump's new team have been targeted by threats of violence today. Here's Selena Wang.
Trump's spokesperson Caroline Leavitt says that several of Trump's cabinet picks and appointees had faced threats last night and this morning and said those threats range from bomb threats to swatting.
In response, law enforcement and other authorities acted quickly to protect the safety of those who were targeted. Susie Wiles, Trump's incoming chief of staff, and Pam Bondi, the former Florida attorney general whom Trump has chosen as Gates' replacement, were among those targeted. Meanwhile, President-elect has announced his nomination of General Keith Kellogg, who served in his previous administration, to serve as assistant to the president and special envoy for Ukraine and Russia in his next administration. And a law enforcement alert obtained by ABC News now warning about a rash of iPhone thefts across the country. The thieves hitting homes where iPhones have been delivered and may be disguised as legitimate delivery personnel. Sources telling ABC News the thieves are specifically targeting AT&T customers who order new iPhones and then have them delivered to their homes.
Here in New York City, the NYPD has recorded more than 50 thefts of new iPhones ordered from AT&T. Police are working to determine how exactly the thieves know which houses to target and when.
That's the latest news. Weather is next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
We're eating, so you guys see that. Man, we got some chow, did we not, boys?
Oh, yes, sir.
Yeah, this is awesome. Thank you again.
So, as you guys know, I'm new to the state and new to the city. I've been here on several occasions. Double dogs. We tried it the other night, and I told my wife, I said, oh, my God. So we got to feed everybody. So we're going to be here enjoying ourselves. We got little double dogs. Shout out to them for their deliciousness.
I like how that cheese is smothering that meat.
It is. That sounded very sexual.
There's nowhere to go.
It's a little weird right there. You could describe stuff. I like how that cheese is smothering that meat. Could be sexual, could be violent. We're not quite sure about that, but we're going to leave Ken to his own thoughts in there. Dude, speaking of smothering the weird, did you see there's a new documentary coming out? Because I'm like, let me tell you my life. You guys hear about Dan. Dan does his stuff, man, just hardest working man. I'm up about 2 every day. I have a national show I do. Then I do a bunch of different stuff, video, TV, and all that kind of stuff. Then, you know, filling in, doing all these kind of things across the board, do stuff for a bunch of different stations. I work a lot, and I also like to take at least an hour or so a day where I don't have to do anything. And I'll watch some documentaries, and there's a new documentary coming out about the Night Stalker. Oh, my God. That is Richard Ramirez.
Richard Ramirez, yeah.
So I remember as a kid growing up, you don't know who the Night Stalker is. He thought he was Satan, right? He told everybody he was the devil.
Yeah.
He had a look, though, that was very distinct. And I grew up in Southern California when he was doing his thing.
Yeah.
And I remember my grandmother worked overnights. She was semi-retired, but just took a job at a hospital. She was working overnights. And the house that he was attacking, like 10 homes near a freeway. And so we would, my dad would have me go stay with my aunt. And he's like, you know, basically, here's a gun and a bat. And if anybody comes in, well, we'll figure out what happens afterwards. But don't, you know, because my aunt was scared. And I was like, I totally get it.
Sure.
But the new one that's coming out, it's actually his tapes of him chatting with somebody, talking about, you know, he hopes he's evil incarnate. He gets to come back. And also talking to the people who fell in love with him and the woman who married him.
Yeah.
For all of you who can't get a date, just know that. Bunch of losers.
I'm not going to prison just to get a date.
Well, it makes it awkward, doesn't it? It does. But he had all these women that would show up, and his family is like in this talking about, what the hell are these people thinking?
Yeah.
You know?
What's wrong with people?
Yeah. Well, there's a lot wrong with people. I think we know that. I do. Donald Trump will be a president of the United States, whether people want to believe it or not. He's got a transition team, and CBS is like, let's see what everybody thinks of his transition team of evil.
As President-elect Donald Trump prepares for his return to the White House, a CBS News poll is providing detailed insights into a nation divided, but with some optimism about what lies ahead. The YouGov poll shows a majority of Americans are either happy or at least satisfied that Donald Trump has been elected. Many are optimistic or excited about his presidency, and his handling of the transition so far gets a thumbs up from most Americans, according to the survey. Among his voters, that approval is nearly universal, but reactions are deeply divided along party lines. Republicans are feeling more optimistic and excited about Trump's presidency than they were in 2016, and many believe his administration will lower food and grocery prices, a major concern during this election cycle.
Yeah. I think it's odd that some people think, you know, like he's not magically going to do it. And I'm here to tell you, tariffs are a negotiating part. It is a absolute battle. And what goes on between us and Mexico is as important, if not more important, than what goes on between us and China when it comes to tariffs. And the reason is Mexico is our biggest trade partner. It's not China. It's Mexico. And what happens there is going to be interesting. She's already changed her tune a bit, but she's also threatened as well. So to think things immediately are going to change overnight, don't feel that way. This is what I don't want to run into when you know the political world happens. What you see all over the world is the extremes. The extremes take over, and then stuff goes to hell in a handbasket, and it becomes a crap show. And then all of a sudden, the other side, it flips over to the other extremes. And then, but nobody ever has time to fully implement something. And they already want to now we're blessed because we got 4 years. But realistically, Donald Trump doesn't have 4 years. He has about 16 months. And everybody's like, how's that so? Because if you don't start turning it around and getting it on the right path, know that there is an upcoming midterm and your people are going to start to struggle. And what happens after 16 months is if they think that it's going to hell in a handbasket, they'll turn. Because, see, you're going to be gone. I've always said this. Congress, the Senate, those folks there, they're not renters. They're buyers in D.C. because they know if they want to, they could be there forever. And their number one priority isn't the country. I know it's a shocker. Their number one priority is themselves. And it's not the party. The way it works is personal, party, anything left is for the people. So he's got about 16 to 18 months to get this thing rocking and rolling. And I think he's got a good shot at doing it. But there's got to be time. And that is important.
On the other hand, half of Democrats report feeling scared about what Trump might do, with many believing his presidency will threaten their rights and freedoms. However, fewer than half of Democrats feel motivated to actively oppose him right now. And when it comes to the economy, there's a net optimism about Trump's ability to lower prices, particularly among his supporters. While inflation remains a top concern for most Americans, Republicans are already reporting improved views of the economy. When asked what Trump's priorities should be, most Americans say addressing rising prices should top the list.
Absolutely number one thing. We're still a checkbook society, and in the checkbook society, what do we want? Help us when it comes to the checkbook. And that usually means get out of our way. But if you can do something to make it better, great. Don't make it worse, which happens too often. I love how they're like, well, you know, half of Democrats don't agree, but they're too tired to do anything about it, so they're just going to let it go because they know they can't. They know they can't. What they can do is hope and pray. My buddy, who I love dearly, is to the left of Bernie Sanders. And I know some of you out there are like, can't believe a friend like that. Of course I do. Love him to death. By the way, he was there the day I was born. I mean, we're so tight. It's amazing. He said to me the other day, I hope Trump does a lot. He's hopeful because he's really big in the Palestine. It's like the new hip thing that everybody's wearing this year. Oh, Palestine. Oh, yeah. What are you wearing? I'm wearing Palestine. Oh, very nice. So it's it's like apartheid, right? That's the new apartheid, except for the fact that apartheid was way different than this. So but he says, you know what? I think Trump could get something done with this. I think he can. He goes, I think he can. I think he can get something done when others can't because I don't think Trump, he goes, for all the things I can't stand about him, I really think he has as much disdain for the military-industrial complex and this stuff, and he wants peace. So I think there are people out there quietly, even on the left, who are like, you know what? I hope he does do something.
Trump's voters are overwhelmingly in favor of tariffs, with many believing they won't raise prices. Even among those who think tariffs could increase costs, a third are willing to accept that trade-off, according to the poll. When it comes to cabinet picks, Trump's selections are viewed somewhat positively overall. His supporters overwhelmingly back his picks, and overall impressions are net positive among those who are familiar with the selections, particularly the nomination of Senator Marco Rubio to be Secretary of State and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. to head up HHS.
That's very good. I'm excited about Robert Kennedy Jr. I think he's going to have some missteps. I'm not going to lie. He's going to have, by the way, every one of them are going to have missteps here and there. That's just the nature of the beast. I have missteps. You work, you have missteps. So all of us are going to have missteps. But I think he's going to do some stuff. And I'm still very hopeful that the Doge is going to actually do some stuff that is going to truly, and we're going to get into a little bit next hour, truly change the way that we look at it, how much we spend. Because government will spend as much as you give them until they eventually implode. I have a huge collector of reptiles. Not in my former life, even to now. I mean, they're still back in Arizona, some of them. But I have animals that will eat themselves to death if given the opportunity. They will gorge on themselves if given the opportunity. And that's government right there. It will gorge itself until it can no longer gorge itself. And when it gets to that point, we are screwed. So I do think there's going to be some good stuff, and I think there's going to be some stuff that's not great, and there's going to be some missteps. And we've got to realize what's real and what's not real, and come at it in that situation, each and every one. Because I think Marco Rubio, by the way, is going to get a lot of Democrats to vote for him. I don't know about RFK Jr., but I think there's going to be more than a few that will get a surprisingly decent amount of Democrat support, including the fact that Fetterman said, look, there's 2 or 3 people I know over there that are going to run that I will absolutely support, and Rubio being one of them.
Americans want appointees with experience and independence, but Republicans also prioritize loyalty to Trump. On immigration, the public remains divided. While most Americans approve of a mass deportation program in principle, they want it handled by law enforcement or immigration agencies and not the military. There's also been a shift in how Americans see the future. Before the election, Republicans tended to believe America's best days were behind us, while Democrats believed they were ahead. Now, those views have flipped. Most Republicans feel America's best days are in the future, while Democrats are less optimistic.
By the way, here's news to everybody. We live in the best country in the world at the best time in the history of the world. And while there's mistakes and some missteps and there's issues we need to deal with, travel the globe, even in Western countries that you think, look at all this, there are serious issues that we just don't face comparatively. And I go back to this. Our obese, and in many cases, are poor. The rest of the world's trying to feed themselves a meal. And we've got people here that are poor, that are overweight, dying of diabetes. Our poor have air conditioning. There are places where the wealthy don't have air conditioning. So we live in the greatest time in human history. Everybody's got a cell phone. Everybody does. I mean, we are blessed, but there's a lot to do, and it can be a lot better. There's no doubt about that. But that also goes back to your local politics and how important that is. I don't think people realize the people here, right? Congressmen, councilmen and women, the person on the school board, those will have a big impact on your life in ways that a lot of times the national stuff won't have that kind of impact outside of aliens, which we all know are coming. We agree, right? Like Tim told us.
They're already here.
Already here, dude.
That's right. Tim Burch had already said that, right? He said they're here. And we shouldn't be afraid. I go back to that. He did tell us, if they wanted to kill us, they would have done it already. But they don't want to. Apparently not. Maybe that's because they're going to eat us later. My name's Chad Benson.
To serve man.
Right? Oh, God, that was such a great episode. If you didn't see it, Twilight Zone, To Serve Man. It's a cookbook. It's not a book on how they're going to help mankind. Just want to let you guys know that. I hope I didn't ruin it for you. It's only 50 years old. You hear Ken in there. We got a lot of stuff still to get to. Coming up, some fun stuff, but also talk a little bit about immigration next hour, which is vitally important that we talk about immigration. And yesterday, what the czar, the actual czar, said that is so important when it comes to immigration that was kind of looked over by a lot of people. Bunch of other stuff, some fun stuff as well. My name's Chad Benson, in for Matt Murphy. This is Super Talk 99.7. Rough Greens, ruffgreens.com. Go there now. Get a $20 value bag, right? So this is a Jumpstart Try Bag. It's $20, which you normally spend on it. And they're going to send it out to you free. And you're like, Chad, what are you talking about? If you love your animals like I love my animals, I love my dogs, I love my cats. Rough Greens and Meow Greens are supplements, powdered form supplements that you sprinkle on top of their food and you watch what happens. It is incredible. It's got vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9, all this incredible stuff, each formulated specifically for dogs and cats. And it is going to help your animals. For our cat, Angus is a big cat, is a fat cat. Angus had issues with his fur. Like, he looked like he got hit by lightning. It was a mess. He had to wear the cone of shame. He was bald. It was a nightmare. We started giving him this after spending tons of money trying to figure out what the allergy was. We sprinkled this on his food. He loves it. Next thing you know, fur starts growing back. The itching stops. No more bloody paws. None of that stuff. Boom. This stuff works. If you love your animals like I love my animals, try the Jumpstart trial bag, a $20 value for free. All they ask you to do is cover the cost of shipping. RUFFgreens.com. It's roughgreens.com. Use code Chad when you go there. Roughgreens.com. Code Chad. Roughgreens.com. Code Chad.
All right, everybody, slow down. Have some patience out there. You will get to where you're supposed to be if you're careful. We've got some crashes building up. Right now, we've got 140 westbound at Dixon. That's backed up all the way to 840. In Madison, 65 northbound, the left shoulder blocked at Old Hickory Boulevard, but 65 north and southbound, you're brake tapping anywhere between White House and Nashville. Then 65 southbound there at Trinity Lane. We've got the latest on Trump nominees targeted by violent threats coming up at 2 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Let me tell you guys something. When you were a kid growing up, did you think, you know what I'd like to study one day? Poo.
Hundreds of fossilized dinosaur droppings and vomit samples from Poland are helping scientists reconstruct what they ate and how that changed over millions of years. And that gives more insight into how they survived. A new study's published in the journal Nature. They ate anything. They found fish scales, insect bits, and bone shards in the rock-like poop. When climate changed and new plant species appeared, dinosaurs adapted and ate them.
Wait, when the climate changed, were we back then too?
Huh?
Was that? How'd that get there? Was it us? Was it the oil companies? It's probably the oil companies, right?
I wasn't interested until he actually said that they were studying vomit too, and then my ears kind of perked up.
I think it was a Stegosaurus.
It was. But they probably were drinking.
With Kamala.
So that's what they were studying there. We have a new word. Dictionary.com has already come out with the new word. And if you have ever been on the interwebs, you might have seen this. You might have seen the kids doing it, your grandkids, your kids. Maybe even you've seen it on a reel or two. Demure.
How I do my makeup for work? Very demure, very mindful.
The word demure is Dictionary.com's pick for Word of the Year for 2024. The word going viral after this video was posted from TikTok user Jules LeBron in August. Dictionary.com says demure saw a nearly 1,200% increase in usage in digital web media alone between January and August. The website saying while the word traditionally was used to describe those who are reserved and quiet, the new usage seen on social media is meant to describe refined and sophisticated appearance or behavior.
Yeah, and if you didn't see him, her, it was pretty funny, though. Like, he's like, I'm very demure, I'm very mindful. It was just so spectacular. So 1,200% drop. They had to go for it right there. They said, this has to be the word of the day. By the way, somebody said you sound like a creepy uncle over there, Ken, describing your burger and the cheese.
I am a creepy uncle.
Creepy uncle, indeed. You're probably that one you don't want to go to Thanksgiving with. Oh, my Lord. A lot of stuff still to get to in our third hour. And again, Matt will be here. In for Brian. I am in for Matt. My name is Chad Benson. This is Super Talk 99.7.
Two o'clock on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories. We've got some crashes starting to pile up, no pun intended. We've got one right now causing quite a backup from Dixon all the way to 840. It's 40 westbound. The left lane is blocked right there at exit 72. North of Nashville, 65 northbound at exit 92. You got the left shoulder blocked. That's going to be Madison. 65 southbound there at Trinity Lane. And in addition to the crashes you're dealing with on 65, it has been bumper to bumper at times, both directions between White House and Nashville. Got 40 eastbound, a crash reported by police right near Spence Lane. Got the full forecast in 5 minutes. The Trump transition team says some of the president-elect's nominees have been the victims of phony threats since last night. ABC News national correspondent Stephen Portnoy reports the FBI has not said who they think is behind it.
These threats are all understood to be hoaxes. New York Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, Trump's nominee to be UN ambassador, says she learned of a bomb threat to her home in Saratoga Springs as she was driving there with her family from Washington. A top Trump spokeswoman says several of the president-elect's picks have been similarly targeted, adding, quote, dangerous acts of intimidation and violence will not deter us.
The FBI says it is working with its law enforcement partners and encouraging members of the public to immediately report anything they consider suspicious to law enforcement. A law enforcement alert obtained by ABC News now warning about a rash of iPhone thefts across the country. The thieves are hitting homes where phones have been delivered and may be disguised as legitimate delivery personnel. We get more from ABC's Aaron Katursky.
Just last month in Virginia, a doorbell camera captured a suspect stealing an iPhone package and pulling a gun on an eyewitness riding his lawnmower. It's one of more than 75 incidents reported in Northern Virginia alone. Law enforcement sources tell ABC News thieves are specifically targeting AT&T customers who order new iPhones and have them delivered to their home.
Right now in Tennessee, several groups are asking a judge in Nashville to pause a hemp rule from going into effect. They say will put them out of business and deny their customers what they call medicine that they need. Rodney Croteau, owner of Green Daisy in Franklin, telling News 2.
Flower and vapes is a significant portion of my business and most of us in this industry. It will, quite frankly, it'll put a lot of people at jeopardy of losing their businesses.
No word on whether the judge will decide before the new rule takes effect on December 26th. President-elect Trump says he will nominate General Keith Kellogg to serve as assistant to the president and special envoy for Ukraine and Russia. And in the Middle East, the ceasefire with Lebanon is holding.
More than 12 hours in, a U.S. brokered ceasefire between Israel and Lebanon is holding. For the first time in 14 months, the skies quiet on both sides of the border. No Hezbollah rocket or drone fire, no IDF strikes or ground ops. Lebanon already sending thousands of troops to the south, where over the next 60 days they're meant to ensure Hezbollah moves 25 miles off the border and the Israeli army fully withdraws. Jordana Miller, ABC News, Jerusalem.
That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
Don't be a Richard. And I mean that. You're out there, you're traveling right now. Everybody else has somewhere to go to. You're not the only person. And that includes the poor person at the ticket counter, just waiting for you, just been dreaming all day for you to come up and yell at them at the airport. They're like, God, this is what I live for. I live for you to be horrible to me at the airport.
You have to remember, though, there's only one rule. You can be wherever you need to be. Just don't be in my way.
It's the truth. It's the truth. But they all want to be somewhere else, too. And just want people to recognize that. You don't have to be awful. You don't. Because I know a lot of people lose their cool, and I've been one of those people in the past, and I'm not going to lie to you guys. I've lost my cool on a few occasions. But as you get older, you start to realize, well, yeah, I don't think that person really, you're the 75th person in line to ask you about the plane being delayed. And the other 74 people right before you also asked, because they're on the same plane, but you wanted to make sure that the other 74 people weren't lying to you?
Chad, as you get older and reality starts to check in, you just sort of slow down automatically because you realize at a certain point the stopping place is a pine box.
Oh, my God. So just want to put that out there, right? You travel safe. It's better to be a little late than never there. Unless, of course, you want to avoid your family altogether. Then you hope that the plane's been completely, I'm sorry, can't go.
Sorry, Mom, can't make it. Plane went down.
Yep. That's it. You know what? They're not traveling anymore. They was Delta, Spirit. Mom, I was booked on Spirit. They went bankrupt. Nothing I could do. They said they can only take 8 passengers. That's all they had to wait for.
The ticket says Pan Am, but I can't find the gate.
So it's like that movie, was it Four Christmases, where they were on TV. It was Vince Vaughn and them, and the family saw them on television not being able to get on their flight to Hawaii, and that's how they had to go to the Four Christmases. Just take a deep breath. That's all we're saying, everybody. We got you covered here. We make sure you're going to get all the breaking information when it comes to everything from what's going on at the airport to what's going on the roads, all of that stuff, as well as what's happening with Trump and the transition team, which they, by the way, they signed their agreement last night. Somebody said me that, yeah, they finally signed their agreement last night, but they're swatting. There's all kinds of incidents. These are appointees and nominees that have been swatted, some of them on their vacation, some of them their homes, even though they're not there. They recognize that there's a very good chance that this is nothing more than a hoax, but you've got to make sure, because the last time I checked, the guy that is president, he got shot at once and hit, and another guy was going to shoot at him but didn't get the chance. So definitely take it serious is what I'm trying to say. And yesterday, Tom Holman, who is truly the czar of the border, not just in name according to the media inconvenience, but it's truly going to be the czar, came out, and they were down, both he and Greg Abbott, at the border in Eagle Pass, which I've been on several occasions. You want to go to my Facebook, Chad Benson Show Facebook. I was there a few years ago with Brandon Judd. We were traveling all over the place. It's really unique. People don't realize how small the Rio Grande is. You don't even have to be able to throw the ball well to play a good game of catch. It's how small the Rio Grande is in certain areas. But they were down there because they've got 1,400 acres now. A lady named Dawn Buckingham secured all this. They're going to build all these things, and this is supposed to be, the evil that is. But he had this to say, which look, he's serious.
There is going to be a mass deportation because we just finished a mass illegal immigration crisis on the border.
Now, what is that mass deportation going to be? Well, I will say this. Some of you may not be thrilled. If you think everybody's going to go, you're fooling yourself. First of all, massive donors won't allow it. Secondly, we don't have the manpower or the money for it. We just don't. I don't want military cruising up and down my street. I don't think most of you who are into freedoms want that as well. So that isn't going to happen. But here's where it is going to happen. First of all, self-deportation. We talked about it last week. Already, you're seeing massive amounts of people that are here that have either overstayed their visas or snuck in illegally from the Philippines go home because they recognize that they're going to be in trouble otherwise. But one of the things he said yesterday is the due process. So many people out there on the left are like, they're here for asylum. And for those of you who think they're here illegally, they're abusing our system. But once they get the application for asylum in and we accept it, they're not here illegally anymore. Now, unless they have a parole number of work visa parole, they can't work, but they're not here illegally. They're allowed to stay at that point in time, which is, again, that's the catch and release and ridiculousness of the whole thing. That being said, 1.3 to 1.7 million people, depending on where you read. So let's just call it 1.5, right? We'll split the difference. 1.5. Have orders to be removed. What does that mean? They have gone through the process. They have went. They actually showed up. They had a hearing. In many cases, their hearing was either continued while they found more information, or they said, you do not meet the standards. And then they said, well, I will appeal. And then they appealed. And then they came back. And then they said, you didn't meet the standards. And then they said, well, I will appeal. And they did it again. And they've run out and exhausted all of their stuff. And now they have orders to be removed. On top of that, you've got God knows how many people, 13 to 15,000 people that have either committed murders or are on trial for murder, and another 13,000 when it comes to rape. But everybody's like, we need to get rid of them. We can't. Sorry. I mean, what are we going to do? Because here's the thing. A lot of these countries, they don't want them. We have no agreement with them. So if we send them back and drop them off somewhere, they're just going to turn around and come right back. So it's better to know where they are than anything else. Those are the people we need to go after first and foremost. Are some people going to get caught up in the middle of it? Yes. Is the little lady down the street who sells tortillas that you see is very nice going to get caught up in it? It's possible. It is. But so much of what this is about is also a show of the force of, hey, we're not allowing this anymore. And I look at the left out there and I say, this is your issue. You caused this by allowing this to happen. Last week, you went and did something quietly, which is you changed the app to check in. So that's gone into effect. So I don't even need to check in anymore? Well, you can do it on the app, but there is no tracking you. You've done this on your own, and it's a race to see how many people you can get here. But they're starting to turn around. Some are making the effort, but they're starting to turn around. Now the battle's going to be with sanctuary cities. So sanctuary cities, you guys know what those are. The feds and the state and the city officials refusing to work with the federal government. So they're not going to work with them. So you may say, hey, this person over here, you guys have him in custody. He has orders to be removed. You guys have him in custody for something that, unless it's murder or something like that, that is, could be misdemeanor, could be a low-level felony. We want you to turn him over to us. And they say no, and they let him out the back. So there are some out there vowing to do everything in their power to make sure that they are part of the resistance.
President-elect Trump's team reportedly preparing to punish sanctuary cities. They are mostly Democratic-run areas where cooperation with federal immigration officials is often limited. The Washington Post reports Trump advisors are discussing how to strip federal resources from those cities if they refuse to take part in mass deportations.
I have no problem with that. The power of the purse will go a very long way. Now, some of that money's already been allocated. So once the money is allocated, they can't go in there and say, well, we're not going to give it to you. So that means next year they're going to get whatever they get because the Democrats have already allocated that. That's already been. But next year, the game changes. On top of that, he has vowed, being Tom Holman, to go, if you're not going to work with us, if you're going to harbor people, we are going to arrest you. And now there's a fear out there that that is going to happen, as it should be. The feds, in theory, aren't supposed to do a lot. But one of the things they are supposed to do, absolutely in charge of, is immigration, is enforcing the border, which we haven't done. So I've got zero problems with that. And he has vowed to go after people. And you've got several mayors, right, who've said, you know what, we're gonna fund this. We're gonna make sure we're part of the resistance. We're gonna do everything in our power to make sure that you. What? Did you not just see the last election? Let me bring it up for you here. I'm gonna read it from, if you've seen it on TV. You got your butt kicked because people don't want this. That's what it said. You lost because one of the things, besides the economy and the worry of World War III, is the fact that you have not just mismanaged this, because you really haven't. You've got everything you wanted out of it. You were just shocked that people had this reaction, that they don't want people here. That they don't. What do you mean they don't? No, they don't want people here illegally. That's not something they're interested in. They don't want them taking from the government, from the state. And if that's your state, knock yourself out. I don't think anybody, that's you. Fine. But no. The frustration level is through the roof. And you going to fight this to somehow win brownie points, are you not paying attention? You're not. You're not paying any attention to what people are saying, which, by the way, if you're out in one of these blue cities, maybe you're listening online, you're watching on YouTube or whatever, I have news for you. I hope your city does it, because it may be the only thing that starts to turn your city from blue to red. And Bell and I were talking, was it Bell? Every state went a little bit redder, right?
Yeah, every state gained a percentage of Republican voters over the last election.
A little bit redder. Looks like ketchup everywhere now. That's what I'm talking about. So, I absolutely 100% behind this. Here's something else I'd like to see brought up. If you are a city and you harbor somebody who then gets out because you harbored them, you hid them, and you allowed them to go out the back, and that person commits a crime against somebody, I think your city should be culpable in that. I think you should absolutely be culpable in that. And I'm not talking about somebody that they didn't, they arrested him. He didn't, the feds never said hold him, and then they let him go. I'm talking about if you know you have somebody that is absolutely wanted by the feds and you decide to do nothing to help them in orders for removal, and you let them go out the back, and they go and they commit a crime against somebody or property or whatever it is, you should absolutely be liable. You should be culpable for it, both on the criminal level and financially. We're all on the same team here. And I can look over, and let me tell you something. Every one of you listening who said, I would never do that if I lived in a different, you bet you would. I get myself here, absolutely. 100% I would if I was in another country and I was that desperate. Oh, yeah, to feed my family, to feed myself. But that's the risk they take. And we as a nation can be sympathetic, but we've got to protect our borders. And we've got people that are willing to work against our own federal government. That is insane. Indeedio. Happy Wednesday, everybody. It's the day before Gobble Gobble Day. If you can see me on the old TV there, I got my Gobble Gobble shirt on. Coming up, a lot of stuff still to get to. Some more on travel, what's going on out there. Bunch of other things. My name's Chad Benson. I'm in for Matt Murphy. This is Super Talk 99.7. Bulwark Capital. If you're thinking to yourself, what's going to be 2025? Is it going to be crazy financially? You know what? Protect yourself. Buddies over at Bulwark are amazing. My buddy Zach Abraham, Chief Investment Officer, wants to show you what they're all about. They're about risk management. It's number one strategy. It's what they handle. It's what they do. And how do they do that? Protect your downside. They want to give you the most upside potential, but they want to lower risk, lower cost, lower volatility. You can't make money if you're losing money. And they are brilliant at what they do. I want you to call them today and get a free risk review. It's a second opinion. They'll go through your portfolio. They'll take a look at it, give you an honest assessment of what's going on, talk to you about, hey, look, not everything's a cookie cutter experience. So many people out there are in these retirements. It's just cookie cutter. Well, your retirement may be different. You may not want to retire. You may want to go and do something else with your life and start a business you've always dreamed of. They're going to help you with that. Call 866-779-RISK today. Find out what they can do for you. 866-779-RISK, or check out everything they do at knowyourriskradio.com, KNOW, yourriskradio.com. Investment advisory service offered through Check Financial LLC and SEC registered investment advisor. Investments involve risk and do not guarantee past performance. Doesn't guarantee future results. Check 24367.
A lawsuit has been filed to block that new sales tax increase Nashvillians just voted for. We'll tell you about it at 2:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Kathy just texted in and said, Tom Homan just issued the ultimate FAFO. He's a scary guy. He's that like, I don't want to go to Grandpa's house.
Yeah.
He makes me uncomfortable.
Only if you're AOC.
Yeah, he's intimidating. Like, I've talked to him on several occasions, and everything is a matter of fact. Like, there is, like, I don't know if he's ever smiled. Like, I often wonder, what were you like as a kid? Did you never smile?
You know what amazed me is especially, you've seen the video of him pulling AOC apart, right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely.
It is just him sitting there very calmly, being very matter-of-fact about it, no real emotion until she tries to lie to him. And he's just, like, spitting facts, and she's the one getting worked up.
Yeah. Well, because, again, facts and data matter. And, you know, when it comes to illegal immigration, there shouldn't be this. Here's the issue. Both sides have played this. And if you think that the right is all of a sudden somehow magical in this, you're wrong. They have been a huge part of the problem, a massive part of it, because they had big donors who wanted cheap labor. And they were fine with it. The problem began about 10 years ago when they realized, hey, the big donors, cheap labor, that may be good for everybody when it comes to our pocketbooks, but we're going to be out of a job because the left is bringing them in droves, and their goal is to have indentured voters for the rest of forever. So that's not a good thing. We better figure this out. Then it became a fight. So, and several of you have chimed in and said, why don't you guys, why do you guys talk about going after the employers? And I've said that for years, but you've got to go after the employer. Can't ask, where you're from, right? They get your you could have a fake social security card handed to them. They can't ask you, are you legal? This, that. Those are certain things they just can't do. But then you've got E-Verify. Well, what if they get through that, which is always a possibility because it's not perfect. The punishment, though, has to be real. And is it a massive fine? Is it we're going to close your business after the second one? I mean, there does have to be punishment, because what you're doing is not only you taking jobs away from Americans, you're also making it, especially in the construction world and things of that nature, you're making it hard for small businesses to compete. So when you have to pay, and it's not just about, everybody thinks that everybody comes over here, it's like, oh, you guys like illegal immigration, so you guys can pay everybody $1 under the table. Yeah, good luck with that. They're not working for $1 under the table. What they are working for is a fair cash wage, but you know what? You don't have to pay their taxes. You don't have to pay their workman's comp. You don't have to pay their insurance. You don't have to pay all of those things that add up. So when you go to bid a job somewhere, you're bidding against somebody who is able to undercut you and still make a better profit than you because he doesn't have the overhead. Oh, he may have one or two people that are legal, but he's got others that aren't. And that does hurt. And it's not just, it's across the board who it hurts. So we'll see what it looks like, what they're going to come out with, and what the immigration thing, the mass immigration, I don't think they're going to do it the way that I think a lot of people think. They're just rolling down the street and, pickup trucks just with like some sort of net catching people and throw them in the back. That ain't happening. We just don't have the manpower for a lot of that. The battle, though, is going to be what happens when it comes to the cities and the states, and how are they going to shield, and what can you do with money? Because this next year, you can only do so much with money. But the most important thing is, and I've said this over and over again, talk tough about deportation, talk all of that stuff. First and foremost, you must put back the Remain in Mexico, and you must stop the leak. Because trying to bail out a ship that is leaking without fixing the leak first, you're going to have a nightmare. And it's the number one most important thing. And Trump's going to do that immediately. Then you get down to the rest of it and get ready for the court challenges and all of these things. That's the other stuff. The beauty of our legal system is it's the best we got until we find something better. The downside is it is slow, and there are stuff, by the way, there's still stuff traveling through the courts from when Trump was in office before. That has nothing to do with his court cases. That's how slow the wheels turn. So, I always preface everybody with, I think he's going to have 18 months where he's got a shot to do some stuff, to really change some stuff. I look at the Doge as maybe the biggest, most important thing outside of fixing the immigration, but we'll see what that looks like. But he's got these 16 to 18 months before there is you start to feel like the natives are getting restless. Some people are worried about losing their House seats and Senate seats. Because remember, the Democrats, they had to defend more. This next one, more Republicans are going to have to defend their seats when it comes to the Senate. So you've got to make sure you come out of the box hard. And I think he will. My name is Chad Benson. I am in for the esteemed Matt Murphy, who will be here in a little bit. We had a nice little meal. It was a nice meal, wasn't it, boy?
Yeah, that was really good. Thank you
sir.
again.
Double Dogs did us up big time. And if you didn't hear, you should go back and hear old Ken talking about how creepy his cheese was melted all over there.
Actually, if I had thought about it when he started talking about not being able to eat it, I should have been like, you don't want this. This is not for you. And then I should have just ate his.
No, yeah, you should have. It's delicious.
The cheese was relentless.
Oh, relentless. My name's Chad Benson. I'm in for Matt Murphy. This is Super Talk 99.7.
$2:30 on the dot. I'm Ken Weaver with your top stories, and we've got several issues in traffic right now we need to get to because this is the day everybody's trying to get to Grandma's house for Thanksgiving. And if you are here in Middle Tennessee trying to get there, you need to know 40 westbound got a big backup out at Dixon because of a crash blocking the left lane. That is backed up all the way to 840. North of Nashville, we got 65 northbound near Old Hickory Boulevard, exit 92, left shoulder blocked. And then 65 southbound near Trinity Lane at exit 87. Of course, traffic has been bumper to bumper at times on 65, both directions between Nashville and White House. At least 71 million people expected to hit the roads today. Listen to this guy in Pennsylvania.
Pay attention. We pray before we take off. Make sure you have an easy pass.
Yeah, the worst traffic expected between now and 5 o'clock this afternoon. Well, a spokesperson for President-elect Trump says the FBI is investigating after cabinet picks and appointees were targeted by bomb threats and swatting this morning. Trump's team said law enforcement acted quickly to ensure their safety. Here's Selena Wang.
Trump's spokesperson Caroline Leavitt says that several of Trump's cabinet picks and appointees had faced threats last night and this morning and said those threats range from bomb threats to swatting.
The FBI has not said who might be behind the threats. Meanwhile, AT&T customers, you're being urged to stay cautious as thieves using cellular data to track and steal deliveries, particularly iPhones.
More of the thieves are getting violent, says a law enforcement bulletin obtained by ABC News. Police are trying to figure out how the crooks are getting cell phone tracking and delivery location information so they can grab the iPhones from delivery drivers or the customers. The bulletin says thieves are posing as delivery people using DoorDash bags and wearing Amazon or construction vests.
Chuck Severson reporting. And here in Nashville, the Tennessean says a lawsuit's been filed to block the new sales tax increase voters approved to help pay for Mayor Freddie O'Connell's Choose How You Move transit plan. This lawsuit's from the Committee to Stop an Unfair Tax led by former Metro Council member Emily Evans, claiming the plan pays for projects that are not allowed under the state law, which made the referendum possible, like sidewalks, streets, and signals, and housing projects. It also claims the ballot language disguised the true cost of the plan. That's the latest news. Weather's next. I'm Ken Weaver, WTN News.
My Pillow, buddy over there, Mike Lindell, has given you the opportunity to get My Pillows at a low, low price. $14.88, the classic My Pillows. $18.88 for Queen, $19.88 for King. Deep discounts on everything. And I will tell you this, our dogs love the dog beds. The classic My Pillow is incredible. It's $14.88. But the mattress topper and the slippers, out of this world. 6-day money-back guarantee. He's going to extend it out all the way through March of 2025 with a 10-year warranty made right here in the USA. And when it comes to those pillows, you can get them like really fluffy or maybe not so fluffy. So it's your choice. But take advantage of this. It's the lowest price ever for the classic My Pillow. Just $14.88. Go to mypillow.com/Benson. Use that code Benson to save big. Remember, 6-day money-back guarantee, 10-year warranty. That warranty is they take care of you over there, and that 6-day money-back guarantee extended out all the way through March, so it's even further than that. mypillow.com/Benson. That feels like, is that like the football thing? The NFL films? Is that what that is?
Sounds like
No,
it.
it's just generic music.
I thought John Fonseca was going to come on. The Raiders.
The Raiders.
A swashbuckling pirate. You guys have never heard, what is it, the autumn wind?
Mm-mm.
Have you never heard the autumn wind?
The autumn, yes.
Yeah, when he does this thing about the Raiders, the autumn wind. Oh, it's fantastic. It really is. Several people text in. Chad, if you get a chance, just talk a little bit about tariffs and the president Trump wants to, implement. I'm getting a lot of feedback from the left, and there was a report on TV last night that if those tariffs against Canada and Mexico go into effect, gas prices could spike a little bit and other things could go up. Yeah, that's true. I mean,
you know what stuns me is that you have all of these leftists out there going, tariffs are price increases, which they are.
Yeah.
They get passed on to the consumer. But I would like to see these same intellectually dishonest morons discuss corporate taxes with me.
Yeah, of course. Or better yet, inflation, which was the silent tax that everybody was paying that had nothing to do with tariffs. So, and yes, will your prices go up in some cases? Yeah. This is the way tariffs work. It's a negotiating plan. So I'm here to negotiate with you. You are not allowing me to do business in your country without coming after my workers and putting tariffs on things that you guys do, but you want us to allow your stuff in here. And part of that is on us because we became a consumer-based nation. We went from exporting all kinds of goods, which we still could do, to importing our consumption. We just want to eat. We want free. Stock them deep, sell them cheap. What happens, though, is we have a bigger bank than you. We can withstand some higher prices. We can withstand some uncomfortable situations is what we're betting versus you. So we're betting at some point in time you're going to blink because in theory we have an unlimited bank. That's not true, but comparatively to everybody else, it absolutely is. But that's what we're betting, and that you will blink. I'm not a huge fan of tariffs. I don't like tariffs, but this is the way tariffs should work. If we don't produce it, never tariff it. We don't produce it, or we don't produce it in any kind of number that's real. If we do produce it, and you will not allow us to sell it in your country, but you want us to sell it here, then tariffs are absolutely on the board, as they should be. I mean, people are worried about, and here's the thing, not too many people are really worried about the Chinese tariffs because we've got them on. And in fact, Biden has increased some tariffs because businesses, they don't want to do business, or they can't do business over there anymore. To do business over there, you go over there and you essentially go, I would like to open up a manufacturing plant. And they say, oh, great, sounds great. Yeah. And then don't want to do any kind of accent because I don't want to get in trouble. So, well, if I talk like this, it's all right then. So what happens then? They say, let me see all of your stuff that you're going to do. And they take all your stuff, and essentially they go in the other room and they Xerox all of your plans. And then they're like, hey, yeah, that looks great. And then you open your place, and then across the street, your widget now has a vidget. Or whatever they call, because they give everything just the dumbest names in the world. So all of a sudden now you have to compete. We're never going to be in a competition when it comes to financial stuff as far as workers. Our workers need more. And they want more. And that's not just about the money. It's all the other stuff that goes with it. The quicker robots can get here in some cases, the better it's going to be for everybody. But yes, you will see an increase in some things, not in other things. But it's just about who's going to blink first. And that's why I say, don't look at China. Look at Mexico, Canada, whatever. But look literally. Mexico is it. They're our biggest trading partners. It is important. It is. And several of you are going, oh, my God, Canada, they tariff milk. Yeah, think about all the stuff that we can't sell other places. We just can't sell them. They don't want to allow us to. Or they put a tariff on so high that it's not worth it. Our farmers, our businesses would lose money hand over fist just trying to get into that country. So it's a smart thing to do, but it is a negotiation. It's a starting point. And I go back to World War II to show you the strength of our economy comparatively to other economies. The Marshall Plan in World War II. We said, all right, Japan and Germany, we need to rebuild you guys. We do. We need to rebuild you. We bombed the hell out of both of you. And so we got to figure something out. So what we're going to allow you to do is tariff us 100%. We're not going to tariff anything you guys do, but anything that we send you guys, tariff us. And we'll pay it, which will help you in the cost of recovery in rebuilding your country and countries. And they did. And what happened? Many of those tariffs are still on to this day. So, yes, it'll be tough in some cases. In other cases, it won't be as tough as people are making it out to be. But I don't think any of these things are permanent because I don't think any of these countries that want to have a trade war with us. Because at the end of the day, the one thing that we can do that virtually no other nation on earth could do at all is shut up shop. We could close all our doors. We'd be self-sufficient. Not a lot you can be able to do about that. We have a bigger economy, a stronger economy. We have more money. And so we can go and last longer. We know there's a finite time that some countries can go when it comes to tariffs. It's like we've got unlimited oxygen, as uncomfortable as it may be, because we're going down deep. They've got 5 minutes of oxygen, and right now they're 5 minutes to the top. If we get into a big battle, we got all kinds of oxygen, but now there's 7 minutes of oxygen that they need, and they only got 5 left. So let's see how that works for them. Let's see here. Well, you know what? Guys, last night, I got a charming video sent to me. In fact, the whole world got a charming video sent to them. If you guys haven't seen this, this is the Vice President of the United States, still a heartbeat away from being the President of the Boy Scouts.
I just have to remind you, don't you ever let anybody take your power from you. You have the same power that you did before November 5th. And you have the same purpose that you did. And you have the same ability to engage and inspire. So don't ever let anybody or any circumstance take your power from you.
It's a 9-minute video of a woman who looks like a soccer mom who went to cocktails early in the day, came to pick her kid up from school, and is now arguing with the principal.
There's an empty Chardonnay bottle at her feet that you can't see.
I was going to say, did she just watch Nacho Libre and learn of eagle powers?
Oh, my. Okay, let me tell you guys something, okay? You guys want to be my friends? One time, okay, you guys, let me tell you guys a story. I was in Vietnam, but I went to Hawaii. We're going to make it a state. I'm telling you guys, it's going to happen. Nobody can stop us from making it a state. Just like Puerto Rico's the 58th state. We just made that a state. We did the same thing. Golly. It's like Puerto Rico, but different people. So if you watch the video, it's worse. There's times when, like, you know, when somebody's talking to you and they're a little drunk and the one eyelid starts to kind of like shake. It's like, oh, yeah, I totally get it. Like, she starts to sway, right? And then she starts looking at her hands at times. She's like, you guys can never stop stopping. Great movie, by the way. If you've never seen that.
I have the full support of George.
Yep, that's
You
it.
mean Joe? Yeah, him too.
That guy's pretty good. You guys know he's got dementia? This is where your head doesn't feel good all the time.
And your dentures hurt.
This dementia is the worst. He's a very nice guy. He likes to smell my hair. I told him if I win, I'm going to jump the White House with my BMX bike. We should start a business. That's what I love about drunk people. It's like, if you want to start a business, now's your time. Now's your time to start a business. I know we could start a business. I've always had a dream of making jewelry and selling it in New Mexico.
Let's go to the CIA. They'll let me in.
They like me over there at the CIA. Do you guys like pantsuits? I don't really like these, but they say it makes them look more powerful. So good. I don't know who allowed that to go on last night. Do you know people on the other end were like, oh, sweet God. I need a drink.
There's somebody watching that from her team going, well, at least the loss is already over.
That's it. And her team, by the way, finally came out and admitted, yeah, she had no chance. Our internal polling said if Donald Trump quit the day of, she still wasn't going to win. Even if we didn't count his votes, she still wasn't going to win. It was like that bad. And which internal polling is way better, as we all know. But the issue is you blew through $1.5 billion. You're $20 million over that you still owe, which can follow you, by the way. But you were raising money on the external polls. So that's like being in the financial industry, telling people that you know the stock is tanking, and you're telling people to continue to give you money. That's what we did, Chad. We did it right there for the world to see. You guys see my husband? He's a bit weird. I don't really. If you see my stepdaughter, she's got odd too. Oh my God.
Her left eye is it is bloodshot.
Yeah, it is. Well, it's because I was up all night. I just came back from the country of Hawaii.
Wow.
I was on the medium-sized island in Hawaii. They got volcanoes there. It's pretty awesome. The rock is black as crazy.
Wow.
I think she stayed at Brock's house while she was there.
I don't know who Brock. He don't like me. I'll tell you guys something. He don't like me. Michelle Obama don't like me either.
That's why it took so long for the Obamas to say something after Biden endorsed.
Hey guys, let me tell you a secret. Don't tell anybody. I think Clintons are mean. I just want to let you know that. Don't tell buddy, because they'll get you.
Wow, man, this is something.
Yeah, it is. It's not a good look. I'll tell you that right now. It's not a solid look. If you guys have not seen it, go check it out. Coming up, we'll wrap it up. I think Matt Murphy might join us. Maybe he does, maybe he doesn't. Maybe I'll just do the show continuously at the rate we're going. I've not even seen him here. So my name's Chad Benson. I'm in for Matt Murphy. Super Talk 99.7. Closing time.
Open up your door. You baited me in.
I did. That's all I know is the closing time. I don't know what they say after that.
You open up your doors and something. You ain't got to go home, but you can't stay here.
Oh, it's Matt Murphy, ladies and gentlemen. The
Hello,
Flying
Chad.
Hey, what's going on at the Flying Matt Murphys? What's on the big Flying Matt
going
Murphy
on?
show today?
We're going to give thanks.
We are.
For all of the listeners. We're going to have our Turkeys of the Year at some point.
That's nice.
Always like to give out the Turkeys of the Year award on the Wednesday before Thanksgiving. Here's a little hot tip. Joe Biden's strong in most categories.
Yeah.
As is Kamala Harris.
Kamala?
Yeah.
If
Kamala's
I'm on that
list, I'm calling HR. Turkeys. Easy, Bill. I mean, let's not say things we can't take back. I mean, there are local Turkeys of the Year too, right?
Oh, who's the number one local turkey, you think?
Well, I mean, I might
right now?
might have just been looking at him. I don't know.
Fat, dumb, and happy, though. He got fed, so that's all that mattered.
Oh, look at that. There's food in there, right?
There is. Fed the boys.
Do you do that?
I did.
He's showing.
We sent Ken to get us some burgers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Benson's showing me up.
Did you hear Ken?
He doesn't know the story.
No, that's true.
Did you hear Ken talk about the meat? He's
No, I didn't.
It's like covered in cheese. It's like the cheese is covered.
Hey,
in
Chad.
Yeah.
One time, Matt sent our old news guy to get Whataburger and got
Let me
in
tell
trouble
this.
for it.
Hold on a sec. Let me tell the story. I felt like it. And we're telling the story in front of the news director that kind of went, "Hey, dude, what are you doing to me?" So we had an old news guy, Mac Morey, who young man, and we had the new Whataburger in town.
Okay.
And everybody's excited about the Whataburger. I had Whataburger in Texas. I'd had Whataburger in Alabama, but a lot of people excited about Whataburger, and they had the banana pudding shakes. And I told Morey, I said, I think it would be in the interest of Super Talk 99.7 WTN News, if you take my credit card, get in your car, and go to Whataburger and get us all a burger.
Absolutely.
Which he promptly did. And then he tried to do I tried to get him to do an interview in the drive-thru with the lady in the drive-thru, and she refused to talk to him.
Oh, which at that point in time, you can be mad at him because he's actually covering news.
I mean, he's doing his, I felt like he was doing his job. Apparently, the news director of Super Talk and the program director felt a little differently. A little different. Is that fair, Ken?
Fair.
I'm just going to say this. We work
he only
in
missed
radio.
He only missed one newscast. In my defense,
nobody's listening anyway, so don't have to worry about that. You could have made it up as you went. Nobody's paying attention.
Plus, the banana milkshakes were worth it.
They were incredible.
No, those are good.
So good.
He's like, well, yeah, those were good. All right, so that's what's it.
I just realized that you're wearing a shirt with big eyeballs on it.
There's a kitchen turkey. Gobble, gobble,
I
gobble,
like
gobble,
that.
gobble.
I like that. I'm wearing my Oregon Trail shirt.
Oh, it's great.
You know Oregon Trail?
Yes.
I mean, men
Great
of a certain Weaver, you know Oregon Trail?
Yes.
Men of a certain age. It's Oregon Trail. It's got the wagon on it, and it says, "You have died of dysentery."
Yeah, it's fantastic. If a game, it's like, hey, you know what?
You always died of dysentery.
That's it. It's always fun to play a game where you may die of dysentery and or have to eat other people along the way.
You got to do what you got to do, guys. Got to do what you got to do.
Matt Murphy in for Brian Wilson.
Yeah.
You guys have a good Thanksgiving. Thanks for hanging out with us, and we'll do it again next week.
See you, Chad.
See ya.